feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm so happy to have you. If you're my patrons and subscribers, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be focusing on solely on the 2022 midterm voters. Who are they and how are they feeling going into this midterm? The best way for us as a collective, as a community, to really know what's happening in the midterm, we got to get nice and deep and understand the voters at their core. So we're going to break it down. There's going to be a very short multiple tarot card readings in one shot. Everything is timestamped in the description below. If you want to see, like, how people who are women, how they feeling, how are minorities feeling, or people with disabilities, or I didn't even do gay people. I don't know why. I'll add that in with the minorities aspect. But there's a multitude of different things that we're going to cover in today's video. It might look long, but it's really just short little segments of each particular minority or a voter type group. I try to group them just to kind of see how each group is feeling and how they probably going to vote just based on their feelings and emotions. We will be using the kaleidoscope squash of the chocolate deck, where we're going to kind of really use the colors. I figured color might be a really good indicator on knowing either how they're going to vote or how they're feeling emotionally, and the best way to really know is colors. We will also be taking a look at the chakras and see how they're feeling emotionally, how they're feeling internally, really what's the driving focus and the forces that are heading into the midterm, right? So if you have not already, go check out my YouTube video. I just uploaded this yesterday. My 2022 midterm warning. My dream, Democrats can win. You can choose peace or destruction. That is entirely up to you, but I highly recommend you check that out. There's 4 different channels in that one video. It looks long, but it's really not. It's broken down into little segments. And also, as well, if you have not already, check out my 2022 August midterm reading. I highly recommend it. It's a really great way to really gauge where the country is heading at the moment. But anyway, let's start. Not gonna waste your time. All right, let's do this. So this video is being recorded on September 15th, 2022 at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is the current news article that is currently on Google. So you can look this up just to back up my claim here when I recorded this video. So again, you can see here 420. All right, so let's do this. So here are some quick disclaimers on your screen right now. Feel free to pause the video and read them or skip ahead. This video is just for entertainment purposes only and for education purposes only as well. So if you have not voted, definitely get out and register to vote now. You only have this time period to register to vote, so make sure you get that done. Okay, so the first question that we're going to ask is, what is the overall mood when voters vote in the upcoming 2022 midterms? So let's take a look. Spears hands will tell me, what is the overall mood when voters vote in the upcoming 2022 midterms? Okay. Is there any other key elements here in the 2022 midterms and the general basic of how voters are going to vote? Or how are they feeling when they go to cast that ballot? Do I need another one? Okay. Or one more? Okay. There seem to be very similar energy. So we have yellow, we also have blue. Well, this is yellow, this is blue, this is yellow, this is blue. And then we have 2 purple. Okay, so let's take a look. So the first key note here is very ironic because we have 9-3, right? We have personal power, right? So there's going to be a group or a lot of voters in general, because we're talking about the overall mood going into the midterm, that it's going to be all about the feeling and the sensation of personal power, right? Knowing you're right, your ability to vote is your own personal power. It's only one of your major luxuries as an American citizen. That is one of your personal powers. I also talked about, women's rights, voting rights, LGBT rights, minority rights, all those type of things. Your rights are your personal power. That's what makes you feel empowered. So going into this midterm election, expect a lot of people wanting to voice their opinion, whether that is the opposing side or is it the side that is currently in power. The question is, what one is it? But regardless of what it is, we can truly say it's about personal power. The card that also followed it is 16-5, and this is truth, right? This is the color blue, sky blue, right? Your communication, right? What it is telling me here, it is telling me that people have the desire to know the truth. They want to know what is going on in the government, why is the government the way it is, the economy, the inflation, women's rights, what really happened. So I guess in a way, the blue card here is talking about Democrats really want to know what is going on with Trump and why he's being charged, along with everything going on. So really going into this midterm, I see a lot of Democratic energy going into this. Well, when I say Democratic energy, I do mean the political party, but I'm also talking about Democratic core principles like voting. We do have here as well, it is followed by the sixth chakra, which is your third eye chakra, which is all about knowledge, education. It's reversed. And what this is telling me here, that since it's reversed, it is telling me that people realize that, the current trajectory that we are currently on in terms of education isn't very suitable for long-term goals and aspirations. Like, back then you were told if you go to school, you can get this, and this, and you can make this amount of money and be able to have a comfortable, steady life. Now, even people with a college degree cannot get a sustainable job. Like, if you were to work at certain places, like minimum wage job, some of them require you to have a college degree, which is something that didn't used to be a thing until before 2008. We do have here, going back, what's followed after the knowledge card is very, very focused right underneath the personal power card, which is connection with spirit. People are people who are feeling their personal power. It is also hinting towards people's faith, their religion, what it means to be who you are and what you preach and practice. So I would definitely pay attention coming this midterm. There's going to be a lot of religion playing a major role here. This could also be it could be very simple as Christianity and Catholicism and all those type of things, with abortion rights and stuff like that playing into role. It's also possible, well, just people becoming more spiritually awakened. So there's a multitude of different things going on here, and it has a multitude of different reasoning. But what I can say is that there has to be some sort of faith here. There is some sort of faith. Now, underneath the truth card, we have self-discipline, right? Making sure that people have the ability to be charged and be able to be criminally prosecuted no matter who or what you are, not hold everybody accountable, which is why that card falls underneath the truth card. As you can see, it falls underneath the truth card. What's also followed by is also grace, right? Believing that, you can be grateful, that you can be happy that, things are getting better, things are getting happier. So I feel like in a way there is a sense of a positive energy going into this midterm. I feel like a lot of people are going to be more passionate, very more inspired than they normally are, and because of that, they feel very comfortable when they mark that vote. They feel intuitively that their party's going to win. So that's the general overall mood when voters vote in the upcoming 2022 midterms. We are now going to take a look at how women voters are feeling. Okay. Okay. So spirits and angels, tell me how women voters feeling come the 2022 midterms. How are they going to be feeling on election day when they vote? And now again, I do not speak for women. I'm just telling you what the cards are saying. That's all. Remember, not all women feel the same. Not all women have the same consensus, but the majority had the same consciousness. Others, not so much. So Spirit Angels, tell me how women voters feeling in the upcoming midterm election. How are they feeling when they cast the ballot? flip the card. Okay, they told me to flip it. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, they told me to flip it upright. Okay, I need a card. One more. That's too many. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's good. We'll take that. We'll take those. All right. And how are women voters feeling going into the 2022 midterm when they cast their ballot? How are women in general feeling in the 2022 midterms? Oops. Again, everything is timestamped in the description below. Okay. Interesting. So so there seems to be a consensus here among women. There seems to be a polarizing group of women. I feel like I said, a lot of women not all agree on the same issues here. I do see abortion, but I also see something else as well. I do see like there is some sort of different priorities for women depending on who you talk to. Again, I'm not speaking for women. I'm just telling you what I see in the card. The first card that we have here, economy. So we have women, some women voters are feeling like they cannot be able to provide for their family or put food on the table, which is why the 2-in-1 finances come into play. It is reversed, which tells me they feel like they can't have a stable home, a comfortable life where they can be able to breathe and rest, that they can be able to provide proper nutrition and proper food to the child or even to the family members. It is followed by the 1-in-1, stability and security. I feel like a lot of people are feeling, in terms of women, I feel like there is an aspect to them feeling safe and secure in terms of the overall lifestyle. But when it comes to making decisions, they don't really feel that same way, was it 10 and 3. And what that is telling me here is that a lot of women overall feel like they can't make the decision for themselves. And it kind of reminds me, it gives some of them a flashback to that moment in time where women couldn't make decisions. Like in order for you to be able to open up your own bank account, you have to be married and you have to have your husband there to help you. What this feels like to me is that women are going back and forth, and some of them have priorities in terms of finances, but also others that have priorities in terms of making decisions for themselves without any sort of outside influence. So that is playing a key role here. What's also very interesting among women is that they have a spiritual awareness, right? Remember what I told you, that it feels like in this election that people are going to become more spiritually awakened? Well, that seems to be happening among women in particular, but they're already awakened, right? Which is why it comes to spiritual awareness. They're already aware of the spiritual aspect and their power, right? And, in terms of stability and security, in terms of decision, we have your setting boundaries, making sure that they make it clear this election cycle that they want to set that boundary, that you do not cross a woman. You don't cross her. And that is what it's saying here. They're saying that women in general, as voters, and the consensus here, is that women are going to be very loud this election cycle. They feel loud. They're going to make their voices heard this election. So that is why that is coming through. Okay, so now the follow-up question here is, how are the pro-life and pro-anti-abortion voters feeling? So again, we're going to break it down because remember, not all women prioritize certain demographics and certain importance in the country. So we're going to try to cover our bases and see how many we can really gauge in terms of voters and everything that they feel in terms of safetyness and stuff like that. Okay, so Spirit Angels, tell me how the pro-life voters feel in this upcoming midterm election cycle. How are they feeling? Oh, that was fast. Anything else? Okay. How are the pro-abortion voters feeling in this upcoming election cycle? How are they feeling? Okay. So remember, pro-life, pro-abortion. How are the pro-life voters feeling? Okay. How are the pro-abortion voters feeling, spirits and angels? Okay, let's see. What did it say? Okay. Remember pro-abortion, pro-life. All right, so the first card that literally flew out of the deck, was for pro-abortion. I mean, pro-life. And the first card they have 2 in 1, right? Is the belief that, in terms of pro-life, they believe that the baby should live until full term, until birth, as in they don't care about it afterwards. But what we see here, we have the 2 in 1, right? We have the mother and the child, right? But in this case, it is reversed, which tells me the 2 in 1, they don't care about the mother's life. They only care about the baby, and now sit, once she's born, well, it's up for survival skill. That's what it's telling you here. That's why the finances come in reverse. The women who we talked about in terms of women who are very focused on the economy and inflation are the women who don't care about their rights as a woman in general, because they don't value that. It's not something that they want to really prioritize. So for me, I see like a lot of pro-life voters don't care about people who want abortion. They just care about the economy. So there's two. You can see here that there's a distinction between the two already. We have here is also followed by the reverse communication. They're not voicing their opinion. They're not going to go out and vote because the Republicans banned abortions. They're not going to do that. That's not the motivating voice for them. The motivating voice for the people who are pro-life are going to be the economy. We have here expressing my feelings. What I see here in terms of the 5th chakra for the 1st chakra, I feel, and I kept getting this strongly when the card came out, that the people who are pro-life in terms of that regard keep talking about the religion as the reasoning for being pro-life. They say, oh, well, my religion doesn't allow it, but even if you're Muslim, well, that doesn't matter because my feelings and I invalidate yours. That's what it feels like. I feel like there's a lot of invalidating and that I'm right, you're wrong. That's the energy that I feel like for this particular group. And this is how the voters are feeling going into this midterm. This very cocky, this one. Now, as for the pro-abortion, well, we're going to take a quick look. So the card that came out was 23-7. That's reversed. And that is divine consciousness, right? And that's reversed. And what it is telling me here is that the purple color, like a dark magenta violet, it is telling me here that this is talking about your understanding, your crown chakra, right? Things that you used to know start to kind of fade away. People grew up with abortion and having the ability to be able to do these things. Now that they've grown up in the world for pro-abortion voters, growing up in a world where that possibility isn't really promised anymore, and that everything is a threat if you choose to ignore it. And that's really what's key here. But it is followed by sensuality here, and that is all about your feeling, your creativity, your feeling as who you are, your character, your personality, who you are as a woman, right? And I feel like that is being challenged this election. They feel like a part of them is taken away from them. But it is also followed by the reverse truthfulness. They feel like they're being lied to, that they can't be openly honest and say, hey, I really don't want this baby because I can't carry it. And I feel like a part of them have to go out and lie to certain authorities or figures to go to another state to be able to get that abortion and be able to get the help that they need. And that is what it really feels like. It feels like it is weighing heavily on abortion voters. So there's a very clear distinction between the two demographics. So the next question that we're going to ask is, how are the independent voters feeling? Okay. Let's see. Okay, so remember the independent voters, if you don't know who they are, they're people who haven't made the decision. They identify as independent, which means they don't associate themselves with other political party, but they tend to vote every election, but they kind of vote whoever they feel like would be best suited for their country. And independent voters on average tend to lean to the Republicans. Okay, so spirits and angels tell me about independent voters. How are they feeling this upcoming midterm election cycle? How are they feeling? I'm gonna clean my hands because I feel very oily. Okay, so the first card that we have here is we have 22-7, and that is a magenta, which is right here. It's like a magenta violet, and it says here universal energy, which is reversed. Then we also have here like a sky blue, which is all about 15.5, and that is communication, right? How are independent voters feeling going into the 2022 midterm election cycle? How are they feeling? Okay. So what we see here for the independent voters in particular, is I see a multitude of different things for independent. They seem to have a different priority than the general basic between the Democrats and the Republicans. We have universal energy. So I guess gas prices play a major role in independent voters' mind. But it's also very key here as well. I'm also seeing electricity as playing a major role in terms of solar panels, solar energy, green energy, stuff like that in terms of environmental aspect. I feel like a lot of these independent voters going into this 2022 midterm care about the policies that are going to be affecting climate going forward. Whether that means that they're in support of it or against it, regardless, they're going to be very focused on climates, right? In terms of getting the ability to be able to move from one place to another, but also in terms of energy overall. We also have here communication reverse. And that is also telling me about the internet, stuff like that. So it feels like to me that both political parties are not communicating to the demographic here. They're not communicating with these voters, and so these voters don't have not made up a mind yet of who they're going to vote for. I feel like they're undecided and they will remain undecided for the foreseeable future. They won't probably make the decision until that ballot is in front of them. But the communication is reversed, and it is also telling me here social media. So there is something here with the social media aspect that's playing a role, whether that is the negative effects of it in terms of conspiracy theories and stuff like that, or the positive aspect of connecting with people on a global aspect or getting the news from multiple news outlets. We also have here as a side note in terms of one of the challenges for the independent with this sideways, we have the third eye chakra, which is your imagination. I feel like for the independent voters in particular who are voting in the 2022 midterm are going to be very focused on what they want their country to be going forward. So I do see that they're going to be focusing very heavily on imagining two type of futures, and they're going to have to choose between what one they want more. And I see that very heavily here. So maybe if the Republicans keep up the fascist ideology and the independents don't really like fascism, then it's possible that they choose the other political party and vice versa. So I do see that. They're going to be making up their mind using the brain or the third eye. Okay, so the next card that we're going to ask here is how are the voters the first time voters feeling? People who decided to vote in this election. Now, if you guys don't know the difference, the independent voter is someone who doesn't identify with political affiliation but does continue to vote and oftentimes lean Republican just by natural circumstances. But the first time voters are people who haven't voted when they were 18, or people who kind of haven't really cared about politics at all, who are just suddenly involved. Right, those are the first time voters. These are the voters that I spoke about in my dream channeling. If you have not watched that video, I highly recommend it. It's this video here where I talked about the first time voters and how they're going to come out and vote. And we won't really know what way they're going to vote up until that result is set. So, again, definitely recommend watching that video if you have not already. We're going to ask about this question right now and see how those voters doing. Right, the people who haven't voted, who are very interested in politics now because of maybe something they saw or something that they don't agree with, and they don't like the direction of their own country. So we are going to take a quick look at that as well. Okay, spirits and angels tell me. How are the first-time voters feeling? People who decided to vote in this general election. I mean, how are the voters feeling? The first-time voters, people who haven't voted before, who are suddenly interested in politics, how are they going to vote in this 2022 midterm? How are they feeling energy-wise? Because I know we can't know how, or when they're going to vote. Okay. How are the first-time voters feeling? People who suddenly decided to get into politics and start voting. How are they feeling? Okay, I was told to use these cards an asset, so we're going to do that. So how are the first-time voters feeling? What we have here is we have creativity, and that card is reversed. That's why it's 4-2. And it's like a kind of like a bloodish orange, but it's not. It's just an orange color. And what this color is really pointing out to me in terms of this, it is telling me that creativity plays a major role here. But I see a lot of infrastructure. So for first-time voters, they feel like the direction in terms of infrastructure and getting things done plays a major role here. I feel like a lot of them are either happy with the infrastructure bill that's been passed or they want more going forward. They want more stability in terms of their own building and construction. We also have here as well as decision 10 to 3. They're not happy with some of the decision that has been made previously, whether that is on abortion, whether that is on inflation, whether that is a multitude of different things. I do feel like they're playing very key here. They don't like the direction of their own country. Some of them are happy and they expect more from the country, whereas others don't really like the direction and they want to make a choice. They want to make that decision and kind of alter it in a way that they see would be best perceived for the country going forward and believe whatever they believe will be best for the nation. So I do feel like that is going to play a major role here as well. I do see January 6th had changed some minds, or even better yet, put new people into the polls or even the vote. Okay, so those are those people. But again, we didn't get a lot of information because, again, like I said in the challenge, we don't know who these people are, and we won't know who they are until they vote. However, we will be a little cocky here, and we're going to try to see who are the mystery voters. The same thing, but different question. Maybe we get something different. We might get the same cards again. Who knows? Let's take a look. So, how are the mystery voters feeling? Okay, thank you. Anything else, spirits and angels? How are the mystery voters feeling? Okay. Okay, I got 3. These are all reversed, by the way. The count is really nice sherbet ice cream. Okay, so we have 3 different cards here. We have 7-2 relationships. We have forgiveness, 13-4, 23-7 divine consciousness. So what it's kind of telling me here, it is telling me here that they, the mystery voters, have a particular relationship with somebody. This might be the Trump voters, so that might be the hidden Trump voters. This might be what the mystery voters are in the midterm, and people who are in support of that type of behavior. It's also theoretically possible that this energy is telling you that they kind of are becoming detached as well. So there could be people who are coming out to vote who haven't voted before for Trump and his party. And then there are going to be people who are breaking away and breaking that relationship with Trump, right? We have here is asking for forgiveness, right? Forgiveness for the climate. So as particularly for the mystery voters, they want some sort of action on the climate. But I'm also seeing here also forgiveness for debt. So this could be a major role in terms of student loans. Now, these might be people who haven't voted, who are former students or are currently students, who hold certain student loans, and they're going to come out and vote. I do see forgiveness, so student loan forgiveness, to be plays a role here. The key word is the word forgiveness. We do have here divine consciousness, which tells me that there are going to be some sort of understanding. These are particular people who normally wouldn't vote in your typical election, who have had a sudden burst of, oh my God, I need to do this. That's the energy. I feel like in some way that they were dead set on not voting and something hit them and takes over their body and just says, you're going to do this, this, and this. And that's what it feels like. There's a sudden awakening, and that's what the divine consciousness is going for. Right now, they're not going to be in the poll. They're not going to be in the news or anything like that until the day of election cycle. After that full moon had completed a cycle, they'll be going out to vote like unexpectedly. So definitely those are the mystery voters in this midterm. Now, how are people with disabilities feeling? People with voted people who are voting, who have disabilities, how are they feeling? So spirits and angels, tell me, how are people with disabilities feeling when it comes to voting in the 2022 midterm elections? Oh my God, I'm sorry, hold on. How are they feeling? Okay, so it feels to me that a lot of people, in terms of people who have disabilities or on disability benefits, their finances are in the ground. Like their finances are in the ground. They're struggling. They feel like their payment, the disability payments, are not being able to be on a livable wage anymore, especially with inflation and everything skyrocketing. They feel like the money that they are getting does not equally equate for how much disability money that they're getting, or even better yet, how much money they're getting that won't be able to allow them to be able to have a comfortable life with somebody with a disability. This also means for some people who have worker comp or something like that, if you feel like the money doesn't match the current environment when it comes to to the financial or even the financial streets. I mean, Wall Street or whatever. Wall Street, excuse me. Doesn't match the inflation rate. So it does tell me here that there's going to be some sort of financial issue, particularly in that regard, in terms of those people who voted. They want more money. They want to be compensated for all the problems they have endured. We do have here as well forgiveness. Student loan forgiveness is also playing a major role with people who have disabilities. I also see potentially there might be some sort of forgiveness of debt for people with disabilities. I feel like they want that. That might be a talking point in the future. We do have here, though, as reverse card 8-3, we have self-esteem, and that card is reversed. A lot of their self-esteem is down the drain. And it does feel like, to me, that a lot of them feel like they're very unhopeful for the world, and that the world doesn't really care much about them. And so in terms of disability voters and people who have disabilities who are voting, they will be voting on certain loan, better finances, hopefully, and also people with self-esteem to really get their emotions built up. So if you really want a specific target group to really focus and get them to the poll, try focusing on catering to people with disabilities and make them feel heard. A lot of them don't feel heard, so some of them are not going to vote this election cycle. So that is how it's currently going. So people with disabilities are going to vote, but not at the high rate as they used to. Okay, so how are the minority voters feeling? We have African American, Latinos, Asian, European, Middle Eastern, and Native Americans. Now you're asking why there's Europeans there. We also have Ukrainians who came over from Ukraine to the United States as refugees during the Russian invasion. So let's take a look. Spirit Angel, tell me, how are African Americans feeling with the when they go in and vote in the 2022 midterms? How do they vote? How are they feeling going to cast that ballot? Got one card here. We're going to kind of do this one fast because there's a lot of them. We have here dreams and emotions. I feel like it's a beautiful lavender color too. It's 21-6 dreams, and we also have here 6-2 emotion. What it feels like to me, it feels like when it comes to African American voters in general, it feels to me as if they feel like their dream, their American dream, the idea that they had in their head about their country is starting to crumble. And I feel like that has been going on for a very long time. That has been something that, again, I don't speak for this demographic here, but it feels like it's been going on long term, but it's just speeding up. And what it is telling me here is that those dreams are crashing down very easily. They're burning down. The world that they know it is starting to disappear. Like, for example, when I say the world that they know it, starting to disappear, I'm talking about, like, maybe they go into a town that is very loving and accepting to turn into darkness and evil and hatred, or even better yet, a town that becomes a ghost town. I also see neglect in terms of communities that they live in, feeling neglected and feel like the communities are not up to best standard, and they feel like they are seen as dirty. We also have here their emotion, but they're very strong. They're not red because they're not very tight, strong about that, but they're very strong going into this midterm. I feel like they want someone to give them a new, fresh start. They are looking for a new, fresh start. That is what I'm feeling going into the energy here. The next demographic that we are going to do is Latinos, Asians, and European. We'll do one card for each. So how are Latino voters feeling going into the 2022 midterms? Okay, Latinos. How are our Asians feeling going into the 2022 midterms? How are they feeling? Asians. And how are Europeans feeling going into the 2022 midterm? How are they feeling? Okay, Europeans. Again, Ukrainian type energy here. And then we have Asians and Latinos. So for Latinos, we have connected 14-4. We have green. I feel like for some of them, they feel like they're not connecting with the with a particular demographic or party. I feel like they are indeed pulling away from the party that they used to stick by, and they're starting to pull away because it feels like to me that they're trying to basically cater to the party that does not accept them or like them in hope that they understand them. Right, so I would expect Latino minorities to be voting more in favor of the conservative party. I do see that here. I do feel the energy that they don't agree with all those beliefs, but they do want to be accepted. So they'll be willing to do whatever it takes. Again, I don't speak for that demographic here, but that's what the cards are telling me come this midterm. I do have here in terms of Asians, we have the card stability and security one-on-one. So it feels like to me, this is talking about in terms of security, it's talking about, being safe to walk around the streets and not be able to get punched in the face because of COVID or being blamed for something. I do see that stability and security has been out for this demographic, but that is still a major concern. Another thing is it's also financing the finance world. So for them, inflation rate is very key for this demographic. Now, as for the Europeans and everything going on in Europe, we have here Truth 16.5. They feel like in some way this demographic, when it comes to voting, they feel on a particular level that they feel like they don't understand the world that they're in, and they feel like a part of them is being lied to. Like America is not telling them the full truth about what is really going on in their country, and they feel like they kind of can't keep a check on their relative because of some sort of disconnection between them and the country that is being attacked by Russia. We do have here as well as 11.4, and we have love. The card here is reversed because I feel like even when people say they love them, they also don't feel that it to be true. Like, the country saying, "Oh, I'm going to support you if Russia comes in attack," and nobody was there really to support them and back them up. So a part of them feels like they've been kind of like stabbed in the back. So in terms of the European voters, this is how the voters are feeling going into the 2022 midterms. Okay, so now next demographic that we're going to cover is Middle East and Native Americans. Now, a lot of you guys don't know this, but Native Americans are still the only demographic in the United States and the last demographic who cannot vote. Yes, you heard that right. They're one of the only few demographics that cannot vote in the United States if they're on Native American soil and have a Native American descendant. And this was a bill that was passed under Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, you heard that. Okay, so Spirit Angels, tell me, Middle Eastern and Native American, how are Middle Eastern voters feeling in the 2022 midterms? Okay, Middle Eastern, and how are Native American voters feeling in the 2022 midterms? Okay. So as for the Middle Eastern voters, we have love here. What's interesting? Because we have love. It's kind of different than what you would have expected, but for me, I feel like Middle Eastern voters, they're coming out of love for the country that either they came from or the country that they're in. In some form of way, there's some sort of compassion of love. Maybe they're trying to bring love to the country, right? So I do feel like they're going to play a major role and they're going to play a key role in terms of love, or some sort of relationship. It may even come to a point of healthcare. That might be taking maybe a driving force about healthcare. Now, as for Native Americans here, we have connected 14.4, and this card is reversed. And what this is telling me here is that it is telling me that they don't feel like they're connected to the culture in which enjoying them. So, for example, it feels like to me that they feel like they're being ignored, that they're not being respected, that they don't have the power that they want and need. And that's what the energy feels like. A part of them feel kind of injured. They feel wounded. They feel like they're not being heard. And those are the Native American voters. I feel like they want to be heard. So definitely expect more Native Americans to be really bringing that culture to life into American culture and really reviving the Native American lifestyle. And remember, I did say that Native American lifestyle will be revived. I do see that long term. So in terms of connection, they're not yet connecting with the rest of the cultures in America, but that will be coming into major play after this election. So, next one that we have here is how are the extremist voters feeling? Far right in particular due to history of violence. So we're going to take a quick look at that. Okay, so Spirit Angel, tell me how are the extremist voters feeling? Far left and far right. Come this midterm election cycle. How are they feeling once they cast that ballot? Okay. Far left, this is far left, and far right. How the far right feeling? Okay. when they cast that ballot. Okay, we have 3, and then we have the far left. Because I feel like the far left doesn't have that much energy as the far right, and I feel like more cards came out for the far right anyway. Okay, so for the far left card, actually, we have this card. We have communication reversed. I feel like they're not in communication because I feel like they kind of dissipated a bit, right? The far left really isn't that big of a thing or as big of a problem as people would think. I feel like they're not coming out to vote. So in this election, I don't see them coming out to vote. They're more likely to be activists than to be far left extremists. And by extremists, I mean violent in terms of what the far right was doing. So in terms of this regard, it's a no. Even though it's communication, I feel like they're not making their voices heard in that particular way. They're just going to vote, and that's it. They're going to be peaceful in this time period. Now, as for the far right, a little bit different. We have the finances, right? We have anger right here. We have 2-1. And what this card is telling me here, that there's some sort of anger, and I keep seeing socialism in this aspect. They have such a high hatred of socialism and been very easily been able to be manipulated to the point where they can't think, and Trump said, to them a long time ago that, if I lose the presidency, Biden is going to raise the taxes, inflation is going to go up, and blah, blah, blah. Well, they're now blaming Biden. And that's what this card is telling me here, that they are angry. That's what the energy feels like. The cards that follow is also self-esteem, 8-3. If you call them out on their stuff, they'll back down. That's what Biden needs to do. And Biden is doing that now. He is calling them fascists. He's calling them extremists. He is labeling them, lowering their self-esteem. So they kind of feel like crap because they don't want to be known as that. They don't want to be seen like that. They don't want the public perception to be that. We also have here 2060, 26, right? Psychic abilities, right? It is reversed. And the reason why it's reversed, because I haven't done a video on this, but I kind of briefly spoke about it. How I was talking to somebody a long time ago where I said I kept seeing, like how people said the revelation of the soul going out and being sucked into heaven. I really don't see that. I kind of see like beings coming down and taking over people's bodies. And I feel like for this far right group, extremism, is that they're kind of being controlled in a way, and that their bodies are so hollow in terms of their soul that it's just easily able for anything to step in and take over temporarily. And so they're kind of, to me, they're kind of walking around like zombies, is what the energy feels like. It feels like they're easily able to be manipulated. They can't have proper thinking or consciousness to think for themselves. And that's what it really feels like in terms of these particular voters. So I do feel like they have some high form of anger, but they're easily fixable if you just speak to them and tell them exactly who and what they are acting like. Chances are they probably will not vote if you told them. So that's what I see. Okay, how are the economy voters feeling? Spirit Angel, tell me how the economy voters feel in this upcoming 2022 midterm once they cast that ballot. Okay, so the first card we have here is physical body. It's reversed. So they feel like, to me, I feel like health, abortion, and economy are one of the top 3 biggest issues facing the nation beside the threat of democracy. I do see here, I do see the physical body, and the physical body is reversed because it is red here. And what it is telling me here is how they voting and how they feel. They feel angry that the economy is not what they expected. They expected more from the government. They were promised all these things, all the hardships that they faced during COVID. They're not getting any of that. Some of them are, but not the level that they expected, right? Because it's Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. But what I am feeling here, though, that there's a calmness level here, unlike the far right, and what it is telling me here, they're kind of decreasing. This energy kind of decreasing. They're kind of de-radicalizing, and they're kind of realizing, hey, you know what, the economy might get better. And I feel like they're coming to terms with that, which is why this card comes up. Okay, so next thing, how are both Biden voters and Trump voters feeling once they cast that ballot in 2022 midterms? Spirit Angel, tell me Biden. How are Biden voters feeling once they cast that ballot in the 2022 midterms? Okay. One more card. Okay. Too many. How are they feeling once they cast that ballot, Spirit Angels? Okay, they told me to take the top card. And how are the Trump voters feeling once they cast that ballot in the 2022 midterms? Anything else for the Trump voters? Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, so how are the Biden voters feeling when they cast that ballot in the 2022 midterms? Well, we have self-esteem and stability and security, right? They're 8311. For the Republicans, though, for the Trump voters, we have finances and psychic abilities reversed. Oh, I know what this is now. Isn't that interesting how it comes up? So this is kind of like, again, the energy is very similar to, holy cow, oh my God. Okay, so this is, you can totally see the difference between the two. So we have self-esteem and stability and security. And this is talking about the Biden voters here. And the Biden voters here in this particular regard is that they are angry, but they're ready to vote. They're ready. And that's why the self-esteem card comes through. That they are actually motivated to vote. We also have here as well, we have the reverse card, which is stability and security. Not feeling like they have the ability to be able to feel like they're going to be safe and be able to practice and be themselves. I feel like a part of that is also, again, LGBT and also abortion rights. That plays a major role here in the Biden voters. Now, as for the Trump voters, we have here finances, the economy, inflation, stock market. This is them right here. They care about those particular issues. So there's a polarizing divide here. We also see here as well, we also have psychic abilities, which is 26. And what they're kind of telling me here in this regard is talking about religion. Religion is playing a major role here. Like, their talking points are saying, well, I feel like my religion is being oppressed. And that's the energy it feels like. It feels like a lot of them are going to try to force other people to worship or even practice their religion and try to indoctrinate children. And that is what I'm seeing in terms of that particular party, that they are trying to indoctrinate people or force them to vote a particular way or a certain ideology. So the Democrats here, in terms of their political party and their stance, we have here that they feel like they're unstable, they're unprotected, they're going out to vote, and they're enthusiastic. The Republicans care about the economy and wanted to make sure that their religion is number one. And their belief is number one. It's also talking about their view of their universe, their reality. They start talking about their conspiracy theories. Next thing, how are Gen Z and Millennial voters feeling? If you guys don't know, I am a Gen Z, right? I am a Gen Z. So Spirit Angels, tell me, how is Gen Z voters and Millennial voters feeling going into the 2022 midterms? Okay, how are Millennial voters feeling like going into the 2022 midterm when they cast that vote? Okay. Okay, so for my generation, of my young age, we have here stability and security. I think this is self-explanatory here. We have stability and security. People from my generation feel like we're not secure. You work very low minimum wage. We can't go to get a house because everything is too expensive now. Minimum wage and how much we make is not really that valued. Everything is too high priced. We have high student loan debt. We have all these different things. We have cars. Everything doesn't really work out. We have a country that is in a state of fear. We have a country that is about to collapse. We were born into a world where 9/11 happened. So terrorism is on the rise. We have school shootings. We have what else? We have climate change. We have Russia and all those type of things. Election, democracy, the threats of democracy and stuff like that. That is also playing a major role here in terms of Gen Z. That kind of feel like they're not in a stable environment. They're not in an area where they feel secure. They don't really feel like they're happy with the way their country is going, even the country that they were born into. Now, as for the millennials here, we have communication and dreams. I do feel like a lot of them are public broadcasters. I don't know why. I feel like they really know how to communicate very well, or at least will be communicating very well in this midterms. We have here communication. So I feel like a lot of them will actually be voting more verbal than they normally do. We also have here dreams. They have an idea that they want, and they want to be able to make sure that they can pursue it. And what it is telling me here, again, this was reversed, by the way. what it is telling me here for the millennial voters, it is telling me here that they want to be able to create a future, so they are voting based on a future that they desire. So in terms of millennial voters, they want to make sure that they have the perfect future, be able to build a home, be able to have no student loan debt, be able to get the proper health care that they need. I see that for the millennials. Okay, that is their goal. Again, this doesn't mean it's happening, it just means how they're feeling going into that midterm. Okay, let's take a look at older voters. How are they feeling? This is kind of like a more like a general basic, so we're going to use four cards and kind of see as each demographic, each different age group, and kind of see how they're feeling. So spirits and angels, tell me how are older voters feeling. We're going to use 4 cards for different particular ages, so please give me 4 cards. How are older voters feeling? Older than millennial when they cast that ballot in 2022 for the midterms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. They also told me to take this one for this group, so this is the oldest group. All right, so let's take a look. So again, these are the older voters. And so for this demographic here, the age range that come after the millennials, we have divine consciousness, awakening. So a lot of them actually are people who kind of have like busy go-go lifestyle, who were born right before the start of the millennial generation. I feel like a lot of them have a busy lifestyle, and then they have midlife crises and stuff like that. They have things to go out worry about. They have family, they're starting a family, or they're at the age where the family is about 8 or even 10 years old, the kids. I feel like they might have at least on average 2 to 3 children. That's what I feel like. I feel like a lot of them already started a family and they're kind of not focused on politics. They really don't care because they have better things to focus on. That card here is telling me that that demographic, that age range, is one of the mystery voters. They're one of those people who normally don't vote who are going to vote in this election cycle. Now, as for the next generation that follows after that particular age range, it would be a sexual energy. And the sexual energy in this aspect here is telling me it feels like to them, those people are the people who came from around the 60s and 70s who feel very strongly about abortion. So I feel like a lot of them either are pro or against. One of them is going to really go back to that time period when they were younger, when they witnessed the enactment of Roe versus Wade into law. And so I feel like that is going to play a major role in that demographic, that the majority is going to make sure and ensuring that either abortion is the standard and the status quo or it's not. Again, there's 2 very different people in those age ranges. Now, as for the older generation, as we said, to get older, we have creativity. 42. I feel like a lot of them feel like, hold on, why is this not clear? But anyway, creativity. That card is reversed. It is telling me here there's some sort of sensation here or feeling that they feel like the world doesn't really care about elders. They feel like oftentimes as well they're kind of neglected or ignored, or they feel like they don't offer the best services for older people. There's also come down to Social Security. These are people who were promised at a younger age that if they worked hard enough, they would be able to see that money, and they're starting to come to a realization that they may have been lied to, and that they won't ever see that money because it's been sucked dry by the previous generation that used them, aka the silent generation, who benefited heavily from this Social Security bonus. And management is kind of telling me here that Social Security is a big issue when it comes to this demographic. It's making sure that they have retirement money before they can retire. It's also talked about people who were promised that they wouldn't work after a certain age who still have to go out and get a job because their Social Security check don't pay it for enough. We also have here the really older generation. Right after that generation, we have finances, economy, and personal power. There's personal power draining. I feel like they won't have much of a say because there's not a lot of them as there used to be in the previous couple of general elections. And I feel like a lot of them had power has been draining. But in the end, the economy reigns very well here. There's also talk about economy. These are people who kind of briefly remember her stories about their parents who lived through the Great Depression. So this is what I see here in terms of those particular voters. Now let's take a look at the environmental voters. Let's take a look and see how they are doing. and what way they're going to vote. Spirit Angel, tell me how the environmental voters feeling when they cast that ballot in the 2022 midterms. All right, again, this is another demographic that is very passionate and going to go out and vote. These are also the mystery voters as well, the people who care about the climate, who are seeing it affect their home, their lifestyle, their way of life. They're seeing that and they're going to go out and vote. These are people who don't care about politics, but they care about it enough that climate is forcing them to care. We have here is creativity. They have a lot of ideas. They want to help the community. They want to make sure that they can be able to prevent natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina, flooding major states, and what happened in Kentucky and the current Mississippi River flooding and stuff like that. I do feel like a lot of people are going to come out and vote in terms of the climate. So I do feel like that is playing a major role here, as well as the sexual energy. I feel like sexual energy. So these are also people who are also environmentally voting based on the environment, are also voting on sexual reproduction rights. I do see that here. I also see as well is that this is also playing a major role in terms of wildfires and fires. So potentially, if you're talking about California as well, so there might be more voters coming out of California who maybe never considered voting in the past. But again, overall, this energy does feel like there's a lot of passion and drive to vote. However, these people haven't made up their mind or don't even plan to vote yet. That will come into play when they're meant to come in, and that is divine consciousness. Again, these are another demographic that will come out and turn out unexpectedly, so they will not be in the polls. Okay, how are early mail voters feeling? So people who vote by mail, how are they feeling internally when they vote? How are early mail-in voters feeling when they cast a ballot? Okay, so I do feel like already, again, a lot of people who vote by mail early are not heavily Democratic. They just tend to be Democrat just because of the COVID pandemic, but now they're just evenly mixed between the two parties and independents and whatnot. Okay, so this is interesting because how are early mail-in voters feeling? We have here they are very angry with the reproduction overturning of Roe versus Wade. I do see that here that is playing a major role in terms of early mail-in voters. I do feel like a lot of them have already submitted their vote. Once they saw that, they made sure they voted, wrote everything down, and submitted or going to submit. However, that will play one of the major priorities for early mail-in voters. We also have here the economy. The economy is playing a major role in terms of inflation for this demographic as well. These are also the older people as well. But I'm also seeing as well as feeling stable and secure. They don't feel like their country is a safe place to live. They feel like, the children are watching people getting mass murdered all the time. Mass murderers, we have mass shooters, we have school shooters, we have, terrorist organization, stuff like that, things going on in the government. They don't feel like their country is secure, which is why early mail-in voters are going to play very key in this particular election. We also have here limitless. There's a large amount of people who may actually vote by mail because they don't want to be in the waiting line. So I do see it. There's going to be an unlimited number, and they're unknown how many of them there are. And by that I mean not like they're going to be like suddenly all these mail-in votes are going to come out of nowhere and appear just like Trump said it happened. What I see here that there's going to be an unknown number of how many people are going to vote by mail until those mails are submitted. So it does feel like there's going to be either a large amount or it could be a very small amount. Regardless of what happened, it's undecided. The number has not been decided yet. So that is to be determined. Again, that is also possible if they are one of the mystery voters as well. So, how are the students in college who are voting feel? Again, if you guys don't know, they did. Biden did pass student loan forgiveness, which is a very good thing, especially for the Democrats and people in general. So, Spirit Angel, tell me how student loans in college who are voting feel? How do they feel when they cast that ballot in the 2022 midterms? Okay. We have it. So this is another mystery group. We don't know. A lot again, like I said, a lot of these people who haven't voted are going to vote. So this is another mystery demographic here. Students. We have here decision, making the decision, be able to make life-changing decisions like buying a house, buying a car, moving away, going to a different country, being able to travel, be able to have money, have a life savings, et cetera, et cetera. That is coming here in this decision card. Be able to make the free choice and be able to have that sort of flexibility, right, among students. We also have here reverse forgiveness. Student loan forgiveness. This is the key word here. Student loan forgiveness. A lot of them feel like they want more student loan forgiveness. They understand that is the start, but they're going to work tirelessly to be able to get more so that we could be able to live in a world where we have student loans that are free. Because again, a lot of people are still paying off their student loans and they're 40 something years old. Again, it's not fair that a big corporation gets tax or bailout, but you as an American citizen going to study to be able to better your life and better your family doesn't even get a penny. How is that fair? We also have here divine conscience. Again, these people are not making the decision to vote. Again, it's going to hit them, and they're going to be like, "Oh my God, I got to vote." And that's the kind of thing that they're going to play a major key here. So definitely expect more people who are students to be voting than normal. So there are going to be a lot more bigger numbers and creativity, right? They're going to offer a different perspective to politics going forward. So expect more Gen Z voters to be winning elections and be able to run in the next election cycle, which is going to be 2024, which is my generation running. And expect more millennial voters choosing to actually run for themselves and be able to make differences and changes. I believe we do have a Gen Z and a millennial election running to win whatever seat that they're running for. I do see both of them winning. So that will be very interesting to see how that is going to play out and turn out. So anyway, guys, I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.